Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are shifting gears a bit, creating our usual complex geopolitical analysis for something, well, deceptively complex and utterly sublime. Vietnamese chicken pho.
That's right. We're diving deep into pho gà.
Yes, pho gà.
And we're doing this because, while beef pho gets a lot of the attention, the chicken version, it's a whole different challenge.
Yeah.
It's delicate, it's refined, and honestly, pretty unforgiving.
Oh, absolutely. If you've ever tried to get that perfect, crystal clear, really flavorful broth at home like you get in a great Vietnamese place,
Yeah.
it's tough. That clarity, it almost seems to defy physics sometimes.
It does.
So, this deep dive, think of it as your shortcut to mastering it. Our mission today is really nailing that trademark, that beautiful, shimmering golden broth.
Right.
And we'll do that by focusing on, let's say, 3 key things. First, the extreme discipline needed for cleaning the chicken and simmering the broth.
Crucial.
Second, getting that authentic flavor using charred aromatics. That's a specific technique. And finally, how to assemble the bowl properly so you don't ruin all that hard work right at the end.
It really is all about precision and, patience. A lot of patience. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the foundation. The liquid gold we're after. It's called nuoc leo, the broth. Why is that name important here? What does it signify?
Well, it kind of implies reverence, doesn't it? It's not just soup stock. It's the heart, the lifeblood of the dish.
Right.
And the quality of this nuoc leo, it starts logically with the chicken itself. And we're not talking about just any old bird from the supermarket.
No bargain bins here.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Our sources really emphasize starting with a whole free-range chicken, a gadi, but ideally around 3, maybe 4 pounds. So what, 1.4 to 1.8 kilos?
Okay, why gadibo specifically, the walking chicken?
Well, a free-range chicken, it's actually walked around, has better bone density, different muscle structure. It just gives you a much deeper, more complex flavor than your standard factory farmed bird.
More.
Exactly. And that size, 3 to 4 pounds, gives you the right balance of bones, fat, and meat. You get richness, but it doesn't overwhelm the final taste.
Got it. And you cover this bird with cold water.
Yes, 4 to 5 quarts of cold water. Make sure it's covered by a good 2 or 3 inches. Starting cold is really important. It helps pull out more flavor and gelatin as the temperature slowly comes up.
But hang on, before we even really start cooking, there's this aggressive pre-cleaning thing, the impurity removal protocol, as our notes call it.
Yes. This is non-negotiable. This is probably the biggest differentiator between, home-cooked pho and really top-tier restaurant quality stuff.
So what does it involve?
It's basically a systematic way to get rid of everything that makes broth cloudy. First step, you parboil the whole chicken.
In a separate pot?
Yes, absolutely separate pot. Boiling water, drop the chicken in for just 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
What this does is it makes all the surface proteins, any blood, bits of gunk. It makes it all coagulate into this, pretty nasty scum.
And the crucial part, I gather, is you chuck all that water out. You don't just skim it.
Exactly. You dump it. All of it. Then you rinse the chicken itself really thoroughly under cold running water, get any residue off. And then, this is important too, you have to completely clean the pot you're going to make the actual broth in. Wash it out properly before you put the chicken back in with fresh, cold water.
Wow. Okay.
Skip any part of that.
Yeah.
You're pretty much guaranteed a murky broth. Those initial impurities just break down and get suspended.
That sounds like a lot of work before you even start the main event, but I guess the clarity is the payoff.
It is.
So, okay, clean chicken, fresh cold water in a clean pot. Now comes the discipline part, right? Temperature control.
This is absolutely key. The goal is not a boil. Not even close. You want a very, very gentle simmer, almost imperceptible.
How low are we talking?
We need to keep that temperature rigidly between 190 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 88 to 93 Celsius.
And for how long?
About 1.5 to 2 hours total, which, is way shorter than the 8+ hours you might need for beef pho. Chicken just gives up its flavor faster.
Right. 190, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a level of precision most home cooks, myself included, probably don't usually aim for. Why is boiling so bad? Like, what actually happens if I let it bubble away?
Okay, if you see big rolling bubbles, just assume you've failed. You're making dishwater, not faux broth.
Harsh.
But clear, because vigorous boiling physically breaks down the fats and proteins into these tiny microscopic particles. They get suspended, emulsified into the liquid, and boom, opaque, cloudy dishwater appearance.
Yeah.
What you want is a proper simmer. Just tiny, lazy bubbles, barely breaking the surface. That's your visual cue. Keep it there.
And then there's the skimming, removing the bot.
Oh, yeah. Vigilant steaming. This is absolutely mandatory, especially during the first 20 to 30 minutes of that simmer.
What are we skimming off?
You use a fine mesh sieve or a ladle, and you're just gently taking off that gray foam that rises to the top. That's more blood proteins. Other little impurities may be missed in the parboil.
How often?
Check it every 5-10 minutes right at the start. Get that initial scum off. But then, and this is important too, resist the urge to stir it all the time afterwards.
Really? Why not? I'd think stirring helps distribute flavor.
It sounds logical, but aggressive stirring is the other big enemy of clarity.
Yeah.
It just churns everything up, forces fat and proteins back into suspension. It can undo all that careful temperature work you just did.
Ah.
So yeah, set it, skim it initially, and then mostly just leave it alone.
Okay, so let's imagine we've done it. We have this incredibly clear, shimmering liquid. Smells purely of clean chicken. But it doesn't taste like pho yet, does it?
Not yet. It needs that aromatic backbone. And that starts with just two main things. One large yellow onion and a decent piece of fresh ginger, say about 4 inches long.
And we can't just chop them up and throw them in.
Nope. Here's where another specific technique comes in. Charring. The perfect ceviche. This completely transforms their flavor.
How do we do that?
You can do it directly over gas flame, turning them for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, or stick them under a hot broiler for 10-15 minutes. Just keep rotating them so they char all over.
I bet that smells amazing. What's the charring actually doing chemically?
It's caramelizing the sugars just under the skin, basically, and it adds this lovely smoky depth. Gives the broth that signature earthy sweetness that you just don't get from raw onion and ginger.
Ah, there's a catch, right? What you do after charring?
Ah, yes. The crucial detail. You must peel or scrape away all that blackened skin before they go into the pot.
Wait, why, if we just charred it, why scrape it off? Seems like extra work.
Because that really black, burnt exterior, it tastes bitter. We want the smoky, sweet, caramelized flavor that developed underneath the skin, not the harshness of the actual burnt bits. Maximize sweetness, minimize bitterness.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, spices. I heard the spice profile for phu ga is simpler than for beef pho.
It is much simpler, and that's deliberate. It lets that delicate chicken flavor really be the star. For chicken pho, you basically need just 2 or 3 whole star anise pods for that licorice note, 4 or 5 whole cloves, a cinnamon stick, about 3 inches is good, and coriander seeds, maybe a teaspoon. They're technically optional, but I think highly recommended. Adds a nice warmth.
And like the onion and ginger, we don't just toss these in either.
Right. Preparation matters. You dry toast these whole spices. Just put them in a dry pan over medium heat for a minute or 2.
Until they smell good.
Until they become really fragrant, yeah. That toasting wakes up their volatile oils. But big warning, don't let them burn. If they smell acrid or bitter, toss them and start again.
Got it. And once they're toasted?
Gather them up, put them in a little mesh spice ball, or tie them in a piece of cheesecloth. Makes them easy to remove later and keeps little bits out of your clear broth.
Smart. And there's a timing thing here too, isn't there? We don't want these simmering for the whole 2 hours.
Absolute critical timing. If you put those spices in too early, they will completely steamroll that delicate chicken flavor. They only go into the pot for the last 30 to 45 minutes of simmering.
Okay.
That's enough time to infuse the broth with their aroma, but not so long that they become overpowering or bitter.
All right, so our broth is simmering away, perfectly clear, getting infused with those toasted spices. What about the chicken itself? It's been poaching in there.
Right, so that whole chicken cooks until the internal temperature, the thickest part like the thigh, hits 165 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 74 Celsius. Usually takes about 45 minutes, maybe up to an hour, depending on the bird.
Okay, 165 degrees Fahrenheit, it's cooked. Now what?
Now comes the aha moment, the technique that really elevates the chicken. As soon as it's cooked, you pull it out of the hot broth and plunge it immediately into an ice bath.
An ice bath. Like, for blanching vegetables, why is that so crucial for the chicken and phu ga? What happens if you skip it?
If you just let it sit and cool down slowly, carryover cooking happens. The heat keeps going, and that makes the meat dry out, gets stringy, and the skin gets kind of flabby and unappealing.
I see.
The ice bath does 2 things brilliantly. First, it shocks the chicken, stops the cooking instantly, locks in the moisture, prevents that stringiness. Second, it chills the skin rapidly, making it firm up nicely. Much better texture. Needs about 5-10 minutes in the ice water.
That makes total sense. Okay, so after its icy plunge, you shred the meat for the bowls.
Yep. Shred or slice the meat, but the bones, don't throw them out.
No.
No, they go straight back into the simmering broth.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Well, the main chicken flavor is already extracted, but those bones will continue to release gelatin for the rest of the summertime. That adds body, a lovely richness, to the final nucleo. Waste nothing.
Clever. Okay, let's switch gears to the final big challenge. The noodles. You mentioned messing these up can ruin everything.
It absolutely can. Because if you make one wrong move here, all that effort for a crystal clear broth is wasted.
So what's the cardinal rule? The thing we absolutely have to remember?
Simple. Starch is the enemy of clarity. You never, ever cook the rice noodles directly in your beautiful faux broth.
Never.
Never. Always use a separate pot of plain boiling water. If you cook noodles in the broth, they release starch, and that starch immediately clouds up your pristine liquid. Game over.
Right. Separate pot. Got it. And cooking times depend on the type of noodle, fresh or dried.
Big difference. If you're lucky enough to get fresh rice noodles bonds for 2, they cook incredibly fast.
How fast?
Like 10 to 15 seconds of blanching in boiling water. That's it. Any longer, they turn to mush. Drain them really well straight away.
Wow. Okay. And for the dried ones, bon faux, which are more common.
That's a 2-step process. First, you need to soak the dried noodles in room temperature water for about 20 to 30 minutes. This just rehydrates them gently.
And then?
Then, into that separate pot of boiling water for about 3 to 5 minutes. You want them al dente tender, but still with a little bit of bite or chew. Not floppy.
Okay, we've made it. We have our crystal clear broth, perfectly poached, ice-bathed chicken shredded, noodles cooked separately. We're at the finish line. But the assembly itself, putting the bowl together, that needs technique too.
It does. It's all about sequence and temperature to get that perfect final experience.
Walk us through it.
Okay, first step. Pre-warm your soup bowls. Just rinse them with hot water. This stops the bowl itself from sucking all the heat out of the soup immediately.
Smart. Then noodles.
Yep. Place your cooked, drained noodles in the bottom of the warm bowl. Then arrange that lovely shredded chicken over the noodles.
Okay.
Next come the fresh aromatics that get lightly cooked by the broth. Some paper-thin slices of raw onion, some chopped scallions, maybe some cilantro leaves.
And now the grand finale, the broth. You said it needs to be super hot.
It needs to be boiling hot, like literally ladled straight from a pot at a rolling boil directly over everything in the bowl.
Why so hot specifically?
That extreme heat does 2 key things instantly. First, it perfectly wilts those fresh herbs, the scallions, the cilantro, releasing their fragrance right into the steam.
Ah, that floose.
Exactly.
Fine.
And second, it flash cooks those thin slices of raw onion just enough so they lose their harsh bite but still have texture. It creates that aromatic steam, that whole sensory welcome that says, this is perfect pho.
Beautiful. So the bowl is assembled. Now come the garnishes, right? The dia rauthum on the side.
Yes, the plate of fresh herbs and things.
Yeah.
This is where you, the diner, get to customize. You'll always see bean sprouts, jaws, lime wedges, maybe some sliced bird's eye chilies if you like heat.
But the herbs are key for authentic flavor.
Absolutely. You need Thai basil.
Ooh.
It gives those lovely, sweet anise-like notes. And critically, for chicken pho especially, you often find cilantro, sometimes called sawtooth coriander, guano.
Cilantro, that's different from cilantro.
Very different. Much stronger, more intense, almost savory aroma. It's quite distinctive. Having both Thai basil and cilantro gives you a fantastic range of flavors to play with.
Interesting. Now condiments. Sriracha, hoisin sauce, standard pho table stuff. But you're saying be careful with those for chicken pho.
Yeah, the source is really caution restraint here.
Right.
Unlike beef pho, which can handle those stronger sauces, that delicate, clean chicken broth we work so hard for, it's easily overwhelmed.
So skip them.
Or use them very, very sparingly. If you want a bit more punch or texture, maybe look towards some regional Vietnamese additions like crispy fried shallots or a little dish of pickled garlic and chili and vinegar. Let the broth and the fresh herbs be the stars.
Right. Okay, so looking back at this whole journey, the strict parboiling, the super low simmer, the ice bath shock for the chicken, charred aromatics, cooking noodles separately, it's really clear that mastering pho gai isn't just following a recipe.
Not at all.
It's more like a total commitment to disciplined technique at every single stage.
The marathon of details, like you said, requires focus. But the reward, it's right there in that final bowl. That sensory hit when the boiling, shimmering broth meets those crisp, fresh herbs. That's the confirmation. That's the authentic pho gai experience. So much more delicate and nuanced than its beefy cousin.
And that brings us to a final thought for you, our listeners, to maybe mull over. Since that garnish plate, the diarrhea, is interactive, think about how your choice changes things. Adding Thai basil brings sweetness, right?
Right, in sweetness.
But adding cilantro brings that intense, savory punch.
Totally different profile.
So even if the broth itself is identical, your choice fundamentally alters the final taste. It makes you wonder how much of the dish's identity is locked into the chef's carefully made nucleo, and how much is actually handed over to you, the diner, to define with your own preferences right at the end.
Something to think about next time you have a bowl.